I'm not going to swear now because I don't know if you're recording or not.
Oh, you're allowed to swear on this podcast.
Oh, am I?
Oh, yes.
It's fucking brilliant.
Hi guys, welcome back to Interval Conversations. I'm so happy to be rejoined by the legendary Billy Pearce. I've just got him today, so hopefully I'll have a bit more control. So, Billy, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Thank you very much for asking me back. I've just been sat here wondering why you didn't ask Neil back, and I think it's probably because he was crap. But no, it's nice to be back, mate. Thank you very much, and I promise I'll let you try and get a word in.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So today's episode, we're going to be talking about Billy's comedy career. So throughout the years. So, Billy, how did you actually get started in the business?
I could go on forever about that because my mum had a right big dancing school, and instead of playing rugby, I always got roped into being, as a kid, into like 6 years old, or a Siamese twin in The King and I, me and my brother, at Empire Theatre in Leeds. So, and we always got roped in because boys were short, not short, but there were shorter boys in them days. Because you know, the theatre and all that would always be, you were always kind of, they'd take the mickey out of you, put it that way. So I kept it secret, but I enjoyed doing all that. And so really, I kind of left it alone for a bit. And then I went to Butlins as a redcoat, me and another lad called Andy Beaumont, who sadly passed away. And he went to my mum's dancing school. So we went to Butlins. We used to catch people climbing over the fence and then send them back to finish their holidays. And they used to knock on your door at 12 o'clock at night and say, "Have you got a woman in there?" And you go, "No." And they go, "Do you want one?" So, and we had lettuce for breakfast and lettuce for dinner and lettuce for tea. So you could eat like one. So that's how I started. And then we came back doing the clubs, when clubs were clubs. You know, when you had, there was different levels of clubs. So it was like the Working Men's Club, you know, the Working Men's Club, which was great. I did millions of them, and I'm still doing them today. The ones that are left, I just go around shutting them now. And then you did the more sort of cabaret type clubs because they had gambling in them days. Yeah. So so that they could gamble, they had to have entertainment on. So so you did them sort of art venues, and then from there it were the Wakefield Theatre Club, Batley Variety Clubs, you know, Talk of the North, and all those big, which were, to me, that was cabaret. Yeah. Not a club, but people call them clubs, but it was, for me, it was cabaret. So eventually, and I remember a turning point when me and Andy Beaumont, we had to do 35 minutes at Batley Variety Club with somebody like Roy Orbison as top of the bill. And we were doing 3 spots at Working Men's Clubs. So you had your point numbers. So we had our tap dancing, banjo playing, things where we tap dance and play guitar at the same time and all that sort of thing. And so, but we crammed it all into like 25, 30 minutes spot in the first half. Well, it was a killer for me because I was doing all the backflips and the tap dancing and everything else. And I was coming off absolutely knackered. And then goes to bar and the comic goes on. Only a small percentage of the audience, for all the effort that we put into our act, were actually paying any attention. It was chicken in a basket and all that sort of thing. Yeah. But when I watched the comic, standing there, an older man, having a cigarette and a drink, and at the audience, eating out the palm of his hand, I thought, I'm going wrong here somewhere. I want to do what he's doing. Yeah. So I learned then, I started putting gags in and stuff, which actually cheesed off my partner. And so we parted company. And there was a period of time when I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing. And I had a double act with my girlfriend, and we travelled all around Norway and places like that. It was awful, bless her. We starved in London. We had notes. Then we got a summer season with Tommy Trinder. Right? Nobody will ever remember him. Tommy Trinder, you lucky people. And he'd been in business 50 odd years. And I thought, I'm going to soak up everything he's got to, and he was horrible. He was horrible. What a disappointment. I can talk about him like that now because he ain't with us anymore, and only older people would remember who he is. But it was a disappointment, that, for me. But then me and Sally, my girlfriend, we've started doing clubs and all sorts. We were absolutely dying all the time. And eventually I had to bite the bullet and go on my own. And my mum, I learnt this routine. It's called "Without Your Walking Stick." Without my walking stick, I'd go insane. Can't look my best, I'd be undressed without my cane. Right, so it's all about your walking stick. So I had this balsa wood. It's an old routine. Well, it was nicked. It wasn't my routine, but it's a balsa wood cane. You used to be able to buy it on a piece of catgut. So you do all the bit with the cane, but then you let go of it, right? And you learn this routine where it just flies around your head and everything. Because it's on this thing, you can do all these tricks with this balsa wood cane. So I went to a load of trouble to put this walking stick routine. And when it goes into the dancing bit, without my... I'd go in... with the cane. So the first night I did it, I'm in some club in Barnsley, and I didn't put my mic stand out the way, and the bloody cane went round the mic stand. It went round the mic stand. Everybody absolutely. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of kept that in then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To get me cane wrapped round the stand, but you know, the audience tell you so much funny, and then you try and keep it in. It's hard to make things that happen like that spontaneously happen again. Yeah. There was one night in the club, and it was right up there, and they had all the doors open, and a big massive moth was flying about on the stage. And in them days, I used to wear a top hat. So I chased this moth all around the stage, and eventually I caught it in my top hat, and I put it in the middle of the stage on the floor, right? Mm. And I did all the gags. That's the air conditioning and all that, you know, about the moth, right? So at the end of the night, I said, "Good night, God bless you, everybody." And I said, "Right, now we can let the moth go." And I picked the top hat up, and it were empty. It'd been there all night, right? With this moth in it, in front of everybody. Nobody, I didn't know. It'd gone. It'd just gone. It was fantastic. You could never repeat that, could you?
Oh, God.
Like a prop moth that flew around and you caught it. Oh, no.
Oh.
I'm having a drink while I'm talking to you. I hope you don't mind, love.
That's all right by me.
I've got the first day, but my mother and father-in-law are coming round. So they're going to sit at the front of the house, and we're going to sit at the back of the house and shout at each other. But it's the first time we've had visitors for 2 months. I haven't been in our house for 2 months. But anyway, so I don't know if that answers your question, love, but I got the bug for comedy. And the other reason why I started doing comedy was because when I eventually bit the bullet and went on my own, I never thought of myself as a comedian. I just told a few gags. But in the working men's clubs, bless them, I'm not knocking anybody, but sometimes the backing wasn't up to scratch. You had to use the live backing, the organist and the drummer. And they could, a lot of them, you know, they knew all the standards, but if you did out different, they were knackered. And so I used to do a couple of routines, like a tap dance with the stop chorus in it. I used to be a really good tapper, to be honest, because I brought up with it with my mum. I can't do it anymore because I come off a motorbike and broke my foot in half, and it's clickety flat now. Yeah. But, so I knew that by the time I come to do this number, that they wouldn't be able to play it, and I'd make a fool of myself. So what I'd do was fill the time up by telling a couple of gags. A few gags. You know, it's a long time. Like if it's a 3 minute, if you ever put a stopwatch on and people go to me, "How do you become a comic?" I say, "Well, you know, do one of them open mic nights. You'll get 5 minutes." "That's not long, 5 minutes." I say, "Yeah, but put a stopwatch on and don't talk for 5 minutes. You'll find out how long 5 minutes is." Yeah. It's a long time, is 5 minutes. So to fill that time in 3 minutes with a few gags and everything, and say, "Well, we'll cut that number and we'll just go to the next one." So that was another reason why I you couldn't always do it if they weren't listening and paying attention to your gags. But then the power of it, the drug of it, is wonderful. When you do get it.
Because over the years, obviously, you've been known for doing the Bradford Panto as well. But you've also done Bradford Panto. Don't know who goes.
Where's that then, Bradford?
But you also tour with your own adult show as well, yes. Which I was lucky to see when you were at the Alhambra with it. So
not that bad, is it?
Oh, it was very weird seeing you do that sort of comedy at the Alhambra.
Yes.
But
I'm not doing that. And that's been the mainstay of my life. Has been the clubs, and I'm not a kids entertainer. I'm a proper. You don't take any prisoners when you're going on at 11 o'clock at night to a load of drunk people. So you know what I mean. You can't. You've got to be a bit more aggressive. So it's a totally different thing, pantomime. Yeah. I agree with you, though. It's confusing to people. I sometimes get people turning up at my gigs, and I can tell them a mile off that have come because they've looked the pantomime. And then they've booked a night in a hotel where I'm appearing, and you can see, I wasn't expecting this. I try not to be too, I'm not there to upset people. I don't want to upset people. That's a big worry to me. And you've got to be so careful these days, especially like these days. It's difficult not to offend somebody somewhere, it's hard to quantify that. I always think if I get a letter of complaint, which I have to say is very rare, but I look at it and I think for every person that's put that one letter together, there's probably another 10 that thought like that. So I kind of have a look and see, and sometimes I think, like there was one, it's absolutely brilliant. It's an old story that I used to do it right at the beginning of my act. But I wouldn't say it on here because I know for the same reason it'd probably get complaints. But it's funny, and it's not meant to be horrible. Like when I take the mickey out a blind man selling shoelaces, and they're 50p for a pair, and the fella keeps buying them every day, this rich man, but he never takes the shoelace, he just puts the 50p in, and one day the blind man stops him and says, "Excuse me," because they've never spoke for 2 years. He's done it every day, a businessman. And the blind man speaks for the first time in 2 years, and he says, "Are you the man who keeps putting 50p in my cardboard tray and not taking any shoelaces?" And the businessman says, "Yes." He said, "Well, they've gone up to 60p. Right. Now, that blind man's getting the last laugh, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not me saying. So you have to kind of analyse it a bit. But then if you start over-analysing it, it'll drive you potty.
So have there been any other jokes over the years that along the process of the joke that you said you can't really say on here?
Yes.
That you've either had to adapt or just cut completely?
Oh, like that one I've just been telling you about.
Yeah.
But, well, not the blind man so much. I don't do that a lot. It used to be me get out. If I forgot where I was or something wrong happened, because it's like a story as well, much longer than what I've just done for you. So it would get me out of it. While I'm doing that, which I could do it in autopilot, I can think of where I went wrong and what I need to go back to and all that. Or something happens in the audience and I need to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you always have something like that up your sleeve. But there's, the one or two, if you're talking about people complaining, it's amazing what they do pick up on. And one year, I'm doing pantomime, right? And I'd go, right, now listen, boys and girls. Every time I walk out here, I'm going to shout, "Hiya, kids!" And I want all you kids to shout that as loud as you possibly can. "Hiya, models!" Will you do that for me, boys and girls? Yeah. Right, here we go. Let's have a quick practice. Go off, come back and, "Hiya, kids!" Hang on a minute. Somebody's not shouting out, I think it could be some of these older boys and girls not shouting out and joining in, like him down there with the right Miss Muggy face. If you had to see any of them older boys and girls not shouting out and joining in, kick them in the shins and bash them over their heads with their handbags really hard. So I guess a letter once saying, we come and see pantomime every year, and you always take the mickey out of my husband. You say he's got a misermoggy face every year. He hasn't got a misermoggy face. He's had a stroke. He can't help it. He's had a stroke. I can't even see him. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if you could have with lights and, you know, things like that. They do make you laugh, though. You know, what people find to complain about. I'm sorry, I've gone off on a tangent, which is about me.
So, just going back, if you like talking about working in clubs, what is it actually like doing comedy in a working man's club? How tough is the audience? What did you learn from it?
It can be anything, really. Just recently, I did St George's Hall. Funnily enough, first time I've done it since it's been all refurbished. I had a great night. It was a Friday night. It was just about sold out, about 2 tickets left or something, which was fantastic. And as soon as I walked out, everybody, you know, it was great. I was like, this is like, I'm nervous. I'm always nervous. But a different kind of nerves. It's exciting as well. The night after, I'm at a place called Old Swan Working Men's Club, Liverpool. I were on that stage for an hour. I'm not kidding. I never got a titter. Not a titter. They were right aggressive towards me. I had the worst. Were horrible. So, but I got, you know, the pay. I did my hour. You know, I just struggled. In fact, I went in the audience to kiss this lady's hand and I sing a song to. And I go, the gag is, you smell nice. Have you been jogging? Right. So I'm kissing her hand like that. And go, you smell nice. Have you been jogging? So I kissed her hand in mine like that. And before I got the line out, she went, bang, in my face. Coffee it went back and I was on hiding to nothing that night. The woman paid me before I went on. I were in the lounge bit. She came and paid me. I had to sign my name and all that, you know, Donald Duck. I signed for me when I said, oh, this doesn't happen often, love. I said, what if I'm a load of crap? You might want your money back. She went, She knew before I'd even gone on. I didn't have a tough night. So so that's always a worry, you know, when you set off in your car, you never know whether you know. To be honest, people ask me that, and if you don't mind me swearing a bit, I spend my life shitting myself and being relieved. I shit myself going to work, and I'm relieved when I drive home. And I've got that money out, it's all gone all right. It's a big relief. And I don't often have bad nights, but when you do have a bad one, you don't forget it, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been booed off walking on. That's true.
Is that Liverpool?
I did a club in North East, right? Well, not really, not Middlesbrough, somewhere up there. And on the Friday night, and they hated me, right? Just when I was starting out on my own, and they absolutely hated me. So on the Saturday night, I was on like a week's work. And the Saturday night, I'm up there again. And I'm thinking, well, they might be in a better mood. It's Saturday night and they're not working tomorrow and all this sort of stuff. Usually have a better night on a Saturday. They've got the wives with them and all that sort of thing. So I think I'm all right. So I'm upstairs in this, you have to go up all these steps to get to concert rooms. I've carried all these speakers up. I've got it all set up, like 6 o'clock at night. It's all set up, ready. I go to the bar about 6:30 or something and get myself a pint. I could hear these, I can't do the accent, but these North East ladies, that Geordie accent, saying what a load of crap the act was last night, and go, no, it's him, he's here again, it's him. So they were talking about me. I didn't realise, but they were talking about me. Well, it all turned out that they go in this club on a Friday and that club on a Saturday. We're all bloody same audience.
Oh, heck.
So when he put me on, excuse me, I just opened the window in influenza. When he put me on, it was like Colin Crompton. I know he's crap, but give him a chance. You know what I mean? All that sort of thing. And I literally opened up on my banjo with a song called "The Show Must Go On." Right? And they picked me back there, baby. Although I chose this lonely life, it seems it's strangling me now. Ding, 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 ding. They're, boo, boo, get him off, boo. And at the end of it, I went, well, I can see I've got no chance here. I know you don't like me, and I don't really like you either. You know, you're only as good as the audience, and tonight I've been crap. You know, all this sort of thing. And I comes off to standing on feet with them all bullying me and all that. And so then I waited till bingo were on, and I packed my stuff up on stage. Well, bingo were on, so they're all looking down at the bingo tickets. But then I had to get my gear out. And as I got my gear out, it was a long concert room. They pushed the chairs together so I couldn't get through. So I'd say, excuse me to the first room, they'd push the chairs open. Excuse me to the next two, push the chairs open. And all that. And I had to do that about, I could get it all out in about seven times, all down these steps and everything. And I got it all in my car, and I set off, and I drove around the corner, and I pulled up into a lay-by, and I sobbed my heart out. And then I used to have dreams then where I was in that club, and the curtains open, and I am in a Prussian outfit with one of them helmets on with the big spike on top, right? And I'm behind an ACAT gun that fires blancmanges. You have to have bad times to enjoy the good times. You don't forget them kinds of nights when and sometimes it's beyond your control. Yeah. You can't help it. I went all the way to Liverpool for a charity night, and they were just so drunk. It was impossible. I was trying to do my act, and there was a bloke. There was a sheep in the audience, right, loud. You know, through gags and on punchlines and stuff. He was completely ruining the act. And it was a bloke in an evening suit with a dicky bow on, under the table, a big circular table, deliberately, ruining. There was a fight right at the back. I mean, you've got no chance. That's the odd. But if it were like that all the time, then I wouldn't do it, would I?
No. So, sort of moving on to when you did the Royal Variety performance. And children's
1939, I think was the last time.
Yeah. So, what's the etiquette like backstage, and what's the process for your performance going on there? Because obviously it's quite a prestigious show to be on.
For me, mate, I've got to be honest, love, it's all a blur. I was absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
And the etiquette of being backstage, I remember one night I was sharing a dressing room with two famous people. And I would like nobody. And so I'm in this dressing room. One of them was Frank Skinner. And the other one, so I didn't know who he was. I've been doing something and all that. So when I looked, he was putting his shoes on. And they were tap shoes, but they were different to what tap shoes that I would wear. They had heels on and stuff like that. So I said to him, so you do a bit of tap dancing then? Right? And he went, yeah, a bit like that. I went, all right, I do a bit of tap dancing, but like, it was Michael Flatley. Oh, Mum, talk about hanging yourself.
Of course, it was Michael Flatley.
It was Michael Flatley, yeah. I've got lots of stories like that when I, shot myself in the foot, literally. Yeah. I went to Palladium first time, and they won't let me out. This gig I had to do with a lunchtime spot. It was in my contract, and they won't let me out. It was called Savers at Usk. It was a cabaret, like what I'd call a cabaret club, what you'd call a club, but it was a cabaret venue, where I'd be on with Rosemary or, a proper show with dancers and everything. They have a dinner and all that. But the bloke won't let me out the afternoon show, so I'm on a Royal Variety show, and I've got to do a band call in the afternoon. I couldn't get from, like, it's miles away. I drove like a maniac. I couldn't park and all this, and I got all my stuff in, went down these steps into Palladium, and there was a bloke waiting to meet me, and I'd got a jumper on, and he put a microphone up my jumper and all that, and passed me Billy Pearce and all that, clipped it in my belt, and come on with me, I hadn't even got stuff out of the can. He dragged me onto the stage. They all been, it was my turn in the band call. So I used to do a thing called rapping and tapping, where I tap, hello everybody, hello everybody, it's a really special day. My name's Billy Pearce and I walk this way. Well, it's my turn now and I ain't got long to get it right, not get it wrong. I hope you've enjoyed my little bit of rap. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of tap. I used to jump on a table. I had my own table and everything, so I got all that organised. So when it could drag me onto the stage, and I went, and my music starts and all that, I went, well, I said, I haven't got my table. So this boy said, but what's the problem? You know, from the auditorium, what's the problem? I said, well, my table, it's not there, my table. I tapped down to him, what table? Nobody, I'm sorry, I haven't, so I'm speaking to a bloke on my right. So it all came to and I've been having a conversation with this bloke on the right, and when the lights come up, he was on my left. Everybody, you know, the whole place laughing at my expense. You know, stuff like that.
Oh, but
Happy days though, mate. You know, I mean, yeah. I could never really quite believe that I actually got that far, to be honest.
Yeah. Talking to someone on your right.
Yeah, you know, things that happen, you know, when you get it wrong sometimes, but yeah. Which, you know, I've come off many a time and could have kicked myself. Yeah. I had a routine. There was a programme on telly called Pebble Mill at 1 in it, where Alan Titchmarsh. So there was a bloke on the Friday who had the best memory in the old Kieran somewhere or other. And he'd been banned from all the gambling clubs. He could memorise like 10 packs of cards and all this sort of stuff. And he'd written a book. And so he's on the Friday. And I can't, Kieran, whatever his name was. So I was going to say, oh, I watched your show on Friday, Alan. You know, great. I mean, that man, he could remember 10 packs of cards, banned in all the what was his name again? That was my gag. I forgot to do it.
Oh.
I come up, I went, I forgot to do it. You know, could have kicked myself.
Sorry, I just lost my notes then.
You don't need notes.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Forget the notes.
Yeah, well, what else do you want to know, love?
I'm just happy listening to more like backstage mistakes. Really good. I did have a few notes that I wanted to get through. Where are you?
I mean, you know the clubs,
yeah,
the around, and I don't ever regret doing working men's clubs. Those clubs where when we started from a Butlins red coat to starting in the clubs, it was a whole, and they were different in them days. I found a video cassette, a VH cassette of me tap dancing in working men's clubs in 1983 in my daft outfit, but it pans around the audience. And in the audience, because it's a Saturday night, Westminster Recreational Club, Doncaster, it was, a big club, it's gone now, like most of them. And it pans around the audience, the ashtrays are full, like a smoke screen everywhere. The girls are all sat there with halves of lager, all dressed up with their hair done. The men have all got shirts and ties on, having a cigarette and a pint. You know, they've come out for a night out. They don't get dressed up to go to theatre now.
No.
Oh. You know, it's a different world now. To that world, you know, when people went out to be entertained, I'm not saying they don't now. How can I say that? Because I'm an entertainer, but it was different in them days. It's a bit, you know. And the other thing is, you reach a point where your name helps you a bit. You know, like they go out to see you, so you're already halfway there, as opposed to fighting your way up the ladder, and nobody has a clue who we are. You know, it's literally word of mouth that carries your name round, and you start with nothing, and I've still got most of it left. I've got an international agent. I'm out of work all over the world. Someone will like it.
One show I want to bring up as well, it's the summer season you did in Blackpool Grand with Neil.
Oh yeah.
And there were some really good routines in, like, there were a few classic routines, but some really good, like the This Is the Moment routine.
Yeah, all right.
The I Believe.
Yeah.
What was your, like, rehearsal process and planning process? Was it sketches you knew from over the years?
Well, one of them, the I Believe one, that's not mine. That it's been done, lots of times before, but you put your own slant on it. Yeah. The other one you mentioned, This Is the Moment, that's mine. Yeah. I did all that. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was funny. It was nice to do with Neil and Emma Gilmore. She was lovely, Emma Gilmore. She was fabulous. One of the best nights we had was doing that. She used to do, and still does, the Carpenters, Karen Carpenter. She sounds like Karen Carpenter, and she plays keyboards, and she's brilliant. So we put that in the act. So it's the Carpenters. So, but Neil and Emma would start, so kiss today, goodbye, and point me towards tomorrow. And then I come out with overalls on and a bag of spanners and start bashing stuff and everything. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? You Carpenters, I'm a carpenter. Right, so and that's how it starts. But then the stuff we used to come, like Titanic, if you've ever seen that, where I've got leaf blowers and blow all the music off and covering stuff and all that. So we're going to do all that upset. But anyway, she told me in the wings one night, she's never forgiven me, I shouldn't be telling you this, but she bought some new knickers and they were very, very tight, and she'd got a camel's toe, right? So where we get to do the music, when I go to have a look at the music, say, you're ever so talented, look at that, Paganini. And she goes, page 9, right? Look at that Paganini. But what I did with the music, I got loads of, because she told me this in the wings one night, and so I got loads of pictures downloaded off the internet of camel's feet, real camel's feet, right? And put them in the music. Well, she fell about, she was absolutely gone. She couldn't do anything for ages. That was funny, man. It was funny. Them kind of nights, they're lovely. But also when the audience is part of it, although they didn't understand the gag, but they knew something like that. Bless them. Does that answer your question?
Because obviously the summer season goes on the entire summer, so is it stuff like that that keeps the show fresh? Yes. Do you find?
Well, when we used to do something, actually the one you're talking about, I think it was either 2 or 3 days. That's all. It wasn't a full week. Right. So we might be doing Blackpool for 3 days and Scarborough or Bridlington, for another 2 days and that kind of thing. The old days when I used to do, because I've been on stage at Blackpool Grand, this is truth, you can look this up. In the history of the building, the person that's been on the stage and performed more times than anybody else in the history is me. I've been on that stage in Blackpool more times than anybody else than the history of the building, which I'm very proud of that. But also, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, really. But I've been in some brilliant shows, proper summer seasons with Linda Lusardi and the Nolans. The last big show we did, it was me, Kev Orkian, who was a fabulous entertainer. He did right well on Britain's Got Talent. He's a great keyboard player and funny man. The Nolans, the whole Nolans, John Inman.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I'm free. And Jimmy Cricket.
Oh, Jimmy, yeah.
And a load of dancers. And a band.
That must have been a bloody good show.
Well, it was brilliant. It was great. And they were like what you used to call Shaners, so you do sketches and all that in the middle of it. So you do like a scene from, like we did Mac and Mabel and stuff like that. With Joe Pasquale. He was with me for years, Joe. Oh, yeah. I'm the John Mayall of comedy. John Mayall's a blues band fella, right? And he's nurtured all these great guitarists and blues players, and he's been aficionados know all about John Mayall. So I am the John Mayall of comedy because all these people that are now stars. I've taught them
So one thing I want to talk about as well, you've also been in a few musicals and plays as well. So just look it up, you've done Rocky Horror, you were in Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
One of the notes said you appeared in Return to the Forbidden Planet. as well. It's one of my favourite shows.
Well, that was amateur production, and I was just like the narrator. It was recorded and on the screen. So I kind of helped that. That was in Morley, I think. I enjoy doing all that. It's another string to your bow, isn't it? Oh, yeah. It's nice to be able to do different things. The Rocky Horror, I was terrified. The first night I went on, oh man, I've never been booed like that. No. That was, you know, well, apart from that night in Middlesbrough. But I soon got into it. Yeah. I'm still mates with the fella in the wings that kept it all together. Yeah. He was very kind to me.
My mum actually used to follow Rocky Horror on tour, where it's the big John Hanley tour. She used to go to more or less every day to it. So I was brought up on Rocky Horror. It's like, oh, you have to shout here, you have to shout there.
Yes. You
have to shout that. I imagine that took a while to get used to the audience.
Where I went wrong, I'd obviously heard that you get heckled a lot, so I went armed with a load of heckler stoppers. But I didn't realise that they all shout out in unison. You know, there's just an odd one that shouts out. They know where to shout out. So there was a line where there were big, right at the beginning, it was a stormy night, there were big, black, pendulous, and they all shout, "Like your bollocks!" Clouds. Right. So I thought, so I went, "Oh, you've noticed, have you?" Yeah, they are rather big. They're strapped up at the moment. That's why I look so young, because the weight one pulls all the wrinkles out of my face, right? Right. You know, so I got an answer. But funny enough, I did another week with it. I went to Leeds Grand, and then we went to Salford, whatever it's called at Salford. And all the people come in from Coronation Street and everything. So the casting people came in, saw me in the Rocky Horror, and I got a part then on a one-off episode of The Street, Jimmy McGovern. All right. And I was knotty danky end of the pier comic with mother-in-law jokes in a pub and an auction with Timothy Spall, you know, all that sort of stuff. It was great. Nice to be able to do stuff like that. Heartbeat, I did that, I know. I played a painter and decorator, and my son was nicking my keys and making copies of them and going around robbing everybody, which pretty much is like real life, really.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
just try to think.
That's my acting career over with.
But yeah, I think I've got enough material.
Do you know one of the best ones I did? It was called sorry to butt in, but it was called Stand Up, the musical, with Darren Day, what they call him, the guy, old tap dancing fella. There was loads of famous people in it, and it was all about stand-up comedy. So there was an old guy that used to be famous and was getting old and a bit bitter about show business. There was the bloke that's now Mr. Saturday Night, which was Darren Day. And then there was a young guy playing the young up-and-coming, doing all observational stuff and all that. And it was their lives being intertwined and finishing up on a royal command and all that. And it was brilliant. But it was only like a workshop. We did it for a week. We rehearsed in London for 2 weeks and then went and did it for a week. And that was good. I enjoyed that. Yeah. I'm sorry to...
no, I did just think, obviously, with your
all I can say is I've got a great future behind me.
One thing I wanted to ask is, obviously doing all this adult comedy throughout your career and going to do pantomime, has there been a time where you've started telling a joke mid-panto and you've had to stop yourself because you went, I can't say that one?
Well, it's usually when people shout out, because you automatically want you want to reply, so you've got to be very careful. So there's times when I try my hardest to get the front of house staff to let me know if there's any parties in that they might have a problem and they'll be shouted out, you know, like on a Wednesday afternoon, things like that.
Yeah.
In case you come back with an answer that's not suitable. So when in doubt, leave it out, I always say. And I kind of just let them get on with it, just in case, because it's dangerous. Yeah. How far you can go, because you don't know, you can't see them. So it's difficult if somebody is constantly shouting out. You don't know if they've got a problem, you know, and it wouldn't be fair to slap them down, if you see what I mean. You can alienate the whole audience by doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you the truth. One night, I was in Skegness Embassy, donkeys years ago, and there the follow spot is very low down, so you can't. It's like looking into a car headlamp. You can't even see the front row. In fact, one night I was talking to a lady on the front row for a good half an hour throughout the act, and when I went out to say hello to that lady, it was a man with long hair. That's how bad it is. So these blokes shouting out all the time, shouting out and all that. And I went, oh, come on, give it a rest. If brains were dynamite, you wouldn't have enough to blow your hat off. He was Down syndrome. Right?
Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I absolutely, I never put the connotations of that reply, but now I've never used that ever said that line again. And it's a stock line, what people use.
Yeah.
You know, if brains were dynamite, you wouldn't have enough to blow your hat off. It's not meant to be anything. I said to a bloke one night, he was in a chair and he kept interrupting me. And I went, I said, do you know what a Durex is? And he went, of course I do. I said, well, it's a picture your dad didn't, right? Well, it turned out his dad was the club president who they'd buried the day before.
Oh.
The atmosphere in the room went, what have I done? What have I done? Get off.
Oh dear.
You've got to be careful. You never know, do you? But that's how difficult it is doing comedy. And half the battle is experience and knowing how to get out of a situation that you've got yourself into. Yeah. You know, and obviously not getting that situation in the first place would be the ideal thing. It's difficult when, you know, it's usually drink and all that, but, you know, I'm having a drink, but that's when they lose it. There was one night sorry, am I boring you
now? No, go for it, mate. Pat out the runtime.
This lady was giving me grief. I'd gone on and she was being absolutely vile, shouting out, and it's very difficult to insult a lady, a woman. Yeah. A bloke, it's much easier, but a woman, it's much more difficult. So I managed to shut her up. I even said to her, why don't you, look, there's plenty of other places you can go to in this building where you can go and shout as much as you like. Why do you have to sit on front row and shout at me? You know, what's the point? She went, you know, all that. So, anyway, it got worse and worse. So, I'd done about an hour and a half. I thought, I'm going to get out. I can't cope with this. So, my sound guy, he's sat down on my left off the little rostrum stage that I'm on, doing my sound. So I winked at him and I said, we'll go to the last song. So in the last song, it goes, you put the wrong one on. The track goes wrong. So I go, you put the wrong one on. You know, he's hopeless in, you know, start talking about him. So the next thing, when I turn around, she's on the stage, you know, like that with me. So I went, hello, love. She went, take the piss out of him, he's only young. Oh, you're taking the piss out of him, you bastard. Like this, telling me I shouldn't be taking the piss out of him. So I went, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all those who are listening. You know, you've been a fantastic audience tonight. Apologies. So good night, God bless. And have a safe journey. You've been a brilliant audience, except watch where my eyes go. Right? Good night, God bless you. I put the mic in the stand and I went, I didn't even sing the last note. I put the mic in the stand. I said, there you are, look, that's what you wanted all night. Get on with it. I left her on stage. I walked off and left her on stage behind the mic on the stand. Well, it all went quiet for a bit. And then it all kicked off then. They were all rowing and fighting and everything. And the bloke comes and said, you've got to go back on. I said, no, I'm not going back on. I won't go back on. But then I got emails from people telling me that I should have, in my experience, I should have handled it better and I shouldn't have made a fool out of the woman.
I'd have said you did a good job.
Well, I wrote back saying, look, I'm a comedian. I'm an act. It's just an act what I do. I'm not a crowd control officer. I don't go in there having to deal with all these drunk people. That's not my job. And what if she'd fallen off the stage and broken her arm? Or what if something had gone wrong? Whose fault would that be if I condoned it? You know? So I defend myself in that respect. I'm not there for that. But that's one of the hard parts of doing it. That's the fear that you have as a comic, is that you know, it's lovely when it works. It's like a drug. It's fantastic. It's the best feeling ever. It's like the Mexican laugh. When you get a Mexican laugh in a theatre, that's when everybody's head, it goes like, you know, Mexican wave, when they all go like that. A Mexican laugh is when they all go. It's like a wave coming at you. Oh, man. It's brilliant. You get one of them and you think, oh, that's it. I could die now. Have on a Mexican laugh.
So just to end up, I've wanted to ask you this. Do you have a favourite joke you like telling?
At the moment,
yeah.
I always have a favourite joke. I've got jokes that I've used over the years that are always great because they can be used in an adult situation and also at a kid's party, if you like.
Yeah.
But because they're funny, it doesn't matter. One of my favourites at the moment, I hope that people at home don't mind me saying this, but I did a couple of gags from what I do about getting old. You know, allotments are starting to get attractive, and I've just bought myself a Sun Life over 50 plan with a free pack of pen, and now I can't find it. You know when you're getting old, when you walk in a room and you don't know why you've gone in there, and it's the toilet, and it's too late. You know, them kind of things. And you know, when you're getting old, like me, and all the men in the audience will understand this. But when you get over 50, you get a letter, and you have to go to the hospital and have a prostate. When I had to go the other day for the prostate, I went to Pitfields for the prostate exam. They showed me this room, and I had to take my underpants off, and they bent me over this table thing with a cushion on it and everything, and a man come in with a white coat and he put some gloves on and everything, greased them up, and it wasn't too bad at first. I think it was just the one finger, but after a while, honestly, my eyes were watering. I was biting my lip, and the pain was it. Anyway, he stood up and said, well, there doesn't seem to be a problem. And as he walked out the room, the nurse come in and she said, who was that? Do you like that?
I like that one. I'm going to nick that one.
Yeah. My other favourite one at the moment, which nobody ever, they don't really laugh at it, but I do all this stuff about it, you know, walking about board and topless restaurant, no roof on, and all that, you know, the stuff about the food in the restaurant and all that. And then I go, I've had enough. I'll try the octopus. She said, the octopus, it takes 5 hours. I said, why's that? She said, we cook them when they're alive and they keep turning the gas off. They're just lovely, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
You know, them kind of, you know. I used to listen to Jimmy Cricket every night, man, and I used to do that, the letter from my mammy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was going to put you £10 in, but unfortunately I've sealed the envelope and all this sort of thing, you know. Because of the way I've had to cut the buttons off the coat I've sent you. Anyway, I put them in the pockets, you know, and all that. But it used to make me laugh every night.
Yeah.
You know, hearing the delivery and the sound of him in that lovely Irish tone, delivering them gags. It was, you know, it's the gags, and like Frank Casney said, it's the way you tell them.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah, I've got loads of favourite gags. I've got one that's right long, but I'll tell you what, but I've been on for ages now. And you can't offend anybody with it at all. You know what I mean?
Right. All right.
You don't want me to do it, do you?
Go on.
I'll do it quick.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm working away, and I'm in this hotel, Premier Inn, and I got fed up because the bed were like that where Lenny Henry had been sleeping in it. So I I went for a drive in my car. It was a terrible night. It was thunder, lightning, blowing a gale. It must have been 8.10 on the Rectum scale. Well, I found myself outside Bournemouth and I suddenly came across this lovely country pub, all lit up. It was all white, nobody in the car park, blowing a gale. I thought, oh, I'll call in. I haven't had a pint. The barman was ever so miserable. So I thought, I'll go and have a look in the games room, see if there's anything going on in there. And, you know, so I went to the games room, couldn't believe my eyes. 2 owls having a game of pool. Couldn't believe it. 2 owls. One with a big owl. It must have been the night off. One with a big owl, one was a little owl. One was a big, tall, good-looking, muscly owl, and the other one was a little, short, fat, bald owl with a tattoo. So I was watching these 2 owls having a game of pool, and it was a big, tall, muscly, good-looking owl. It was his shot, and he was aiming for a red striped ball in the top right-hand pocket. And as he leaned over the table to concentrate on his shot, the little, short, fat, bald owl with the tattoo, he turned round to have a sip of his half a lager and a cheese and onion crisp. And while he wasn't looking, that big, tall, good-looking, handsome owl, he only moved a yellow striped ball with his wing about 4 inches. He went. I couldn't help myself. I said, excuse me. And the big, tall, muscly, good-looking owl, he stood up, put his cue down, and looked me straight in the face. He went, what? I said, well, that should be 2 hits to him. He said, 2 hits to who?
Oh, no one.
Have you had enough of me, love?
I think we should wrap it up.
How long's that been then? About 4 hours?
Something like that. But that has been an absolutely brilliant interview there.
Well, you can edit it down to about 5 minutes. I normally say, you know, I say I can do 2 hours worth of material, but it's 20 minutes of brilliance crammed into 2 hours.
Well, Billy.
Say hello to everybody at Halifax, love.
Of course I will. And Billy, thank you so much for rejoining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. Are you still recording?
Yeah, I'm just signing off.
So
it's been absolutely brilliant having Billy rejoin me. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Interval Conversations. Today's episode was brought to you by Contactless Cocktails, courtesy of the Middle Bar, Halifax. You can mix and match 4 cocktails for £15. There is free delivery anywhere on orders. There is a minimum spend of £30. Call or text 077 335 83017 or order online at www.themiddlebar.co.uk. If you order before 5 PM, you'll get same day delivery.